meeting of the House Education Committee. Would ask all members and guests to please silence your cell phones. I will advise any guests that are here that if you want to testify on behalf of a bill, like sign-up sheets are in the back, and additional testimony is based on the chair's discretion, based on time constraints. Remind everyone no signs are permitted in the committee room. We have any members now that have introductions or comments? Representative Bojanowski.
Yes. This morning I'd like to welcome my colleagues from JCPS. It's the JCTA Day of Learning, so welcome and be careful. You might end up in my seat one day.
Anyone else have any introductions or comments? If not, Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Ballman.
Present.
Representative Bojanowski.
Here.
Representative Brown. Representative Emily Callaway.
Present.
Representative Josh Callaway.
Present.
Representative Decker. Representative Doan.
Present.
Representative Jackson.
Present.
Representative Lewis.
Here.
Representative Massaroni.
Present.
Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative Rayburn.
Here.
Representative Rawlings.
Here.
Representative Raymond.
Here.
Representative Riley.
Here.
Representative Timoney.
Here.
Representative Wilner.
Here.
Vice Chair Baker. Vice Chair Truitt.
Here.
Chair Tipton.
Here. Our first item on the agenda today is House Bill 377, an act relating to teacher recruitment and retention and making an appropriation, therefore, and declaring an emergency. Representative Kim Banta. I will remind all the witnesses that I will administer an oath, and all presenters, be sure and have your microphones turned on with that green light and have the microphone close to you. So, Representative Banta, would you please identify yourself for the record?
Representative Banta, District 63.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please proceed.
We've already voted on this, and this is a cleanup for the Kentucky Higher Education Authority. Okay, so this is going to be brief. It's just aligning the eligible provisions. They're identical with KIA, and the KIA also requested that the definition summer term be added so that summer school, if somebody goes through the summer to complete their degree and become teachers, that it will count. And if there are no questions, I move for passage.
Motion on the bill.
We have a committee sub.
Motion on the sub. Oh, I can't do that. I'm not up there with you.
I know, but I'm just letting everybody know we do have a committee sub. Have a motion on sub in a second. You have a question, Representative Bojanowski?
Can you just explain what's different in the sub?
I think I did. That was what I explained. Do you want me to go over it again?
I believe what Representative Banta is referring to in the budget language, the appropriation for this is already in the House budget bill. This is the statutory language to align what was in the budget.
With KIA. Sorry. I know it, so therefore I think you do too. So.
And I'll just refresh the differences in the sub in the original 377 was the definition of eligible student. Mm-hmm. They aligned together. There was a slight difference.
Yes.
Also, there was an addition to add. We had semester in here. We also added summer term. So a student could take a summer term. And then on the reward amounts for the loan forgiveness program, it originally said $5,000 and $2,500. Mm-hmm. Now it says up to $5,000 and up to $2,500, depending on funds available. Yeah, Representative Bojanowski.
Thank you. All right. So as I read through this, just kind of a question. So if someone takes the grant or the money and then doesn't become a teacher, they would have to immediately pay back those funds. So when I was going through teacher prep, I had a teach grant. And if someone didn't fulfill the teach grant, then it converted into a loan. So
it converts into a loan.
That would
yes.
What my question was. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Any more questions on the sub? We have a motion, a second on the sub. All in favor of the committee sub, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Now it passes. Now we have on the floor House Bill 377 as amended by House Committee Sub 1. Have any questions, discussion? If not, Mariah, please call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting in a hurry. We're all getting in a hurry this morning. I need a motion on the bill. Motion in a second. It's early.
It is.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Representative Bojanowski.
So the other thing I noticed that I think is a really good idea, and I think we need to write that into more statute, is the mandate for the longitudinal analysis of the correlation between stipend recipients and non-recipients. So I just wanted to comment on that and how much I appreciate that.
Well, and I'm glad that this is a pilot. So it's important to realize that this is a pilot, so that study is going to be done.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? If not, Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker. Yes. Representative Ballman.
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski.
Yes.
Representative Brown. Representative Emily Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Decker.
Yes.
Representative Doan.
Aye.
Representative Jackson.
Yes.
Representative Lewis.
Yes.
Representative Massaroni.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Rayburn.
Can I briefly explain my votes?
Please proceed.
I'm going to pass for today. I have a couple of questions for you, for the bill sponsor. Thank you.
No problem.
Representative Rawlings.
Yes.
Representative Raymond.
Yes.
Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Timoney.
Yes.
Representative Truitt.
Yes.
Representative Wilner.
Yes.
Chair Tipton.
Chair votes aye. With 18 yes votes and 1 pass vote, House Bill 377 is amended by House Committee Sub 1 passes for favorable expression. The same should pass on the House floor.
Thank you very
Representative
much.
Next item on our agenda today is House Bill 383, an act relating to technology in public schools. Representative Josh Bray. Representative Bray, please identify yourself for the record, then I'll administer the oath.
Josh Bray, House District 71.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed.
Thank you all. So House Bill 383, I was at a middle school basketball game out of district, and a teacher from that school came up to me and said, "Man, y'all got to do something about cell phones." Said, "They're killing me." Teacher actually said, "I'm getting ready to retire because I can't fight the fight anymore. Don't feel like I got support from the administration." So filed a bill. So what this does, it just says each school district has to have a policy that forbids its usage within the classroom during instructional time, except during an emergency or if directed by a teacher. And some of those might be they could be using cell phones as part of the learning experience, whether it's scanning QR codes, using it for incentive time. So I thought that was important to include. And then the last section just makes an exception for students with an IEP.
Motion on the bill.
We have a motion. Did we get a second? Have a second. Representative Bojanowski.
All right. So I put a little post in a teacher group, and the position overwhelmingly was in favor of this bill. And several people reached out to me and they're like, it's bad. It's really bad. Now, I'm elementary school, so we don't have an issue in and I'm assuming that is across the board. But middle and high school students, and it's not in one district, it's not in one part of the state, it's just across the board. Some of the questions, though, and some very pointed points were, why in the world do we have to do a law to do this? And how much of a burden would it then put on teachers to enforce that decision and, dealing with students who push back? And then another real important one is you have to ensure that you address the earbuds, because a student may not look like they're on their phone, but they're totally tuned out. My kids try it. They're like doing a Chromebook activity and they say, "Can I listen to music while I do it?" I was like, no, you can't, because you won't focus on whatever it is that I have you doing. So it's bad, but I don't know where the breakdown is maybe it's in society, with children violating what might be, as I understand, most school boards have policies about cell phones and buildings have policies, and why they're pushing back. Did you get any sense of that in your conversations?
So when I talked with my superintendents, they were overwhelmingly in support of it. And it may not be this way across the state, but the ones I've spoken with said most of these decisions are made at the site-based level. And they felt like it was important to give them the authority to kind of lay out the policy. Now, as far as how it'll be enforced or what happens when there's pushback, I mean, school systems already have disciplinary policies that follow this. So I didn't think it was important to put in there like shall be confiscated or something like that, because those decisions are best made at the local level. But as far as the enforcement side of that, I think there's already a mechanism in place to kind of handle that. And as far as the earbuds, I'm 100% with you in support. I've got a son, 11 years old. We fight that battle quite a bit. I mean, he's got a cell phone, but that thing's locked down like Fort Knox. But the earbuds are still going in. And so I would be happy to address that however, we think it's appropriate.
I have a question from Representative Truitt.
Representative Bray, I want to thank you for bringing this legislation. More of a statement, and you've kind of already hit on it a little bit. So some districts, some schools already have policies to prevent cell phone usage. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, my high schools, my middle schools in Rockcastle County, they have this already in place. I spoke with a principal yesterday, and he was appreciative, one, because now it gives him the support to kind of enforce it as he sees fit. It just kind of gives the teacher the support in the classroom, because now the administration kind of has to have their back. And it gives the administration support because, they've kind of got to go down this path now.
So any school that does not have this policy now has grounds to do so, and you're going to protect these teachers who want this done but don't have the authority to do so, correct?
Yes, sir. That's the intent.
All right. Thank you, Representative Brown.
I have a question from Representative Wilner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the bill. I know this is an issue even from teaching undergrads, as I did for many years, that it really is distracting, and it's incumbent on whoever's in front of the class to figure out how to deal with that too often. But I guess I'm curious, as Representative Bojanowski alluded to, why do we need a law for this? And I wonder if the Kentucky School Board Association has a position on this.
So I ran into the school board, a member of the School Board Association, I guess it was one day last week. So they have, I guess, model policies, which those can change, from year to year, whatever. And so the need for a law, it just further states that, this is the intent. We can't teach kids that are distracted. And so that's kind of the thinking behind it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Representative Wilner, knowing this bill was coming, I did have conversations with KSBA, KASS. They knew the bill was coming. I never got any negative pushback or concerns from them. Just let you know that Representative Riley has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really don't have a question as much as just a couple comments. First of all, Representative Brave, thank you for bringing this. This is not going to be as easy as it sounds. Kids are very addicted to their phones. In fact, in many ways, this is going to be a bloody bath for teachers to have to deal with this. Just another difficult thing they're going to have to deal with, because it's bad. I don't know how many of you saw the video last year of the high school student who severely beat up an aide because they took his phone from him. If you haven't, it's very disturbing. If you got a chance to see that. So I just think we need to realize that this needs to be done, but I don't envy teachers that have to deal with this in the classroom. This is very, very difficult. You know how much your kid is addicted to their phone. You know how much you're addicted to your phone. Well, high school kids are on a whole nother level. So let's just be aware that this is going to be something that's going to be very difficult for teachers to deal with. Thank you.
Our next comment or question comes from Representative Emily Callaway.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for carrying this and doing this. I appreciate it. As someone who has dealt with this in the classroom, I appreciate it. And I would like to reiterate the earbuds. So they don't have to do an ear check when they come in. The girls cover up the earbuds, so they get creative with that. And I do like the language, if directed to do so, because a lot of the pressure comes to the teacher in the form of, can I listen to music while I'm working? And can I just do this real quick? And this is, the teacher's able to say, look, unless you're directed, this is definitive. It doesn't, while I don't like removing power from teachers in the classroom, this also does give them an out to say, don't even ask me. This is the way it is, and just don't ask. There's not going to be exceptions. This is in the law. So I do like that language. And just a word from somebody that's, again, just been in the classroom. I like them having them in the backpack locked up versus the lockers. Those are discussions we've been having, turn them in, as you enter school. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback, and there will be some of that traumatic separation anxiety almost from their phones. So I do recommend the backpack, just as a side note here. But thank you again for doing this, and I'm excited.
Chair is going to add a few comments. I actually attended a conference in the fall, Excel and Ed conference down in Atlanta. This is one of the topics of conversation. There have been a few states in the last year or so that have passed similar legislation. I know Florida, in their legislation, I believe, is similar to this at a minimum. They require them to have their phones turned off in the backpack. I read an article about that, and the teacher made the comment the next year, it's kind of amazing the students are actually talking to each other. And I see three issues here. One of them is students have lost the ability to communicate with other people because they're so dependent on technology. We have concerns about academic progress because of constant distractions in the classroom. And the other aspect of this is mental health. One of the data points they shared in the meeting, the seminar on this issue, was that since 2012, the number of teenage suicides by teenage girls has doubled in this country, and that was about the time the smartphone came out. Now, is it a direct correlation? I'll let everybody decide that, but it is a concern. I appreciate you bringing forward, and I believe Representative Josh Callaway has a question.
It's actually just a little more of a comment, but I do appreciate you bringing this bill. And what's interesting to me about this particular piece of legislation is that it brings about a broad look at so many different subjects and issues. So Chairman made reference to the mental health issue, parental involvement, because we know that the parents can help with this, and being engaged and involved in their child's life and their education. Administration support to the teacher, the kids thinking for themselves and not relying on technology to try to come to the answer. So there's a lot of different things that this brings to the table. So I do appreciate you bringing this, highlighting this issue, and the mental health issue is definitely something that's on my mind. We have the second leading cause of death for our 15 to 24-year-olds is suicide. And there's so many things that happens through technology and devices, and so I greatly appreciate this piece of legislation.
I see no more questions or comments. We have a motion and a second. Mariah, call the roll.
Representative Baker? Yes. Representative Ballman?
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Brown? Representative Emily Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Doan?
Yes.
Representative Jackson?
Yes.
Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massaroni?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Rawlings?
Yes.
Representative Raymond?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Yes. Representative Timoney?
Briefly explain my vote.
Proceed.
I'm voting yes today, but I'm concerned that this bill will interfere with my son's TikTok persona that he tries to film at school and the videos he does in the bathrooms. I don't know, if I'm going to be allowed to come home tonight. Thank you.
Representative Truitt,
Yes.
Representative Wilner,
Yes.
Chair Tipton.
Chair votes yes with 19 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 0 pass votes. House Bill 383 passes with favorable expression. Same should pass on the House floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committees.
Our next item on the agenda is House Bill 387, an act relating to substitute teacher certification. Representative Timmy Truitt. Representative Truitt, please identify yourself for the record, then I'll administer the oath.
Representative Tim Truitt, District 89.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please proceed.
All right, I'll start off with making a motion on the committee sub. I guess I can do that, correct?
You sure can. You're a member of this committee. We have a motion on the committee sub and a second. Any discussion on that? Representative Bojanowski.
Yes. Could you explain the difference between the original bill and the sub, please?
The biggest difference is in the original bill, it was 1, 3, and 5 years. And in the committee sub, it goes to 1, 5, and 10. We just extend that. Representative Dossett came to me and asking about extending that for a circumstance that he was dealing with. And I'm like, that makes it easier on the districts, makes it easier on the EPSB. I'm good with it.
There was one additional change.
That's correct. You're right. I'm sorry. It also thank you, Chairman. It also allowed out of state certificates to be able to come in and sub.
There's one more. I'll just share it.
Thank you, Chairman. One more.
In the original bill on the 1 year, it said anybody with a high school diploma. We just added our high school equivalency diploma to that to be consistent. Go ahead, Representative Truitt.
All right. So this is one of those bills that I guess makes it one of the best bills because it came out of necessity. A couple weeks back, I was traveling to school, and my assistant principal, I called, and I always check in on her on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I'm here at the beginning of the day. And I called and I said, "How's things going?" And she's like, "Well, we're 9 teachers out." I was like, "Okay. How many subs you got?" 0. So I called my superintendent and I said, "Sir," I said, "why don't I have any substitute teachers?" And he's like, "Well, we've got 3 in the district, and they're in another school, so you don't have any more." And so I was like, we got to do something about that. So, and I got to thinking about my mother-in-law. I've got the best mother-in-law in the world. She's and I really feel that every time I see her, I was like, this woman would be the best teacher. I mean, she's taught Sunday school for probably 50 years and always runs our Bible schools, and she's just a great woman. And I think about her, I was like, how awesome would it be if I could get her in my building to be a substitute teacher? And obviously the problem is you got to have 64 college hours. And I got to thinking, I was like, what is special about 64 college hours? I had a girl early on in the year that had 63 hours. She didn't qualify to sub. I was like, what's special about 64? And then I started thinking, well, what about 30 hours? And I was like, well, what's special about 30? So finally came down to 0. I think at this time in our schools, we need teachers, we need aides, we need cooks, we need janitors, we need bus drivers, but we also need substitute teachers. And there's probably a lot of people out there who would love to be in the classrooms helping teach, and retired secretaries and just different. I can think of all kinds of different examples who I would love to have in my building, but can't get them there because they don't have those 64 hours. So that was the purpose in this bill. Obviously, we're not forcing a superintendent to hire these individuals. if they are okay with that 64-hour requirement, they can still keep that as their policy. All this bill will do will allow a superintendent or a school district who is in need to provide a 1-year emergency certificate for anyone who has a high school diploma or something equivalent to that to come in and substitute when they're needed.
We do have some questions. Before we do that, we have a motion and a second to adopt the committee sub. If there's no more questions specific to the committee sub, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Committee sub is adopted. Now we have House Bill 387 as amended by House Committee Sub 2 on the floor. We have a question from Representative Wilner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and really just a comment. I thank you for this bill. Every time I talk to teachers, and I talk to teachers a lot, the number one concern I hear is the lack of substitutes. And so teachers are losing their planning periods. They're losing their already too short lunch periods to cover their colleagues' classes. It's a real hardship. I think it's probably one of the contributors to the shortage and to so many of our teachers leaving the profession. So I really want to thank you for this bill, and I support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
I have a question or comment from Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Truitt, I too appreciate the bill. Is there a age limit on who can sub? I know we talked about hours. I know nowadays we have kids graduating from high school with 60 hours of college credit. So I guess my question is about an age limit.
Representative Jackson, that's a great question, and that's one that I mulled over a lot in my head in talking to different superintendents and different people. We thought about doing a requirement of being 21. We thought about making sure they were 18. We thought about, and really, to be honest, I mean, currently the way it stands, I know we had a student from my district a couple years ago who graduated, high school with enough hours to substitute teach. So currently, in the way the law stands now, you could already realistically have an 18-year-old or maybe even a 17-year-old substitute teaching. So all this does, and I thought about doing it, but really, where the district is the one who's in charge, I think this is a better decision locally. If I were superintendent, I would probably, if I had an 18 or a 19-year-old student who wanted to come and substitute, I would probably have them elementary only, and a district can do that. We thought about putting a law out there or putting requirements, but we did not, just because, we want as many people as possible to come in and be our substitute teachers. And a good superintendent and a good district's going to put up guardrails to make sure that we don't have 18-year-olds, substitute teaching in a classroom where they're younger than some of the students. So that is a concern, and I appreciate that. But we did not put a law in or change it to where we put an age requirement on there.
Just to follow up, that was my concern. If you have a 18-year-old that graduated from high school and they could go back and sub at the high school level with their peers or maybe their girlfriend or boyfriend in that classroom, that was my concern. So, but I appreciate you explaining it. And, somewhere down the road, if we need to put a 21 age limit on a high school sub, then that might be something we could look at.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Representative Baumann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Truitt, thank you for bringing this forward. Can you tell me how many days out of the school year somebody that would qualify under this bill could substitute teach?
Well, I was looking here, the only requirement on there is if you are, it says here, the replacement of a teacher of record for more than 20 consecutive instructional days. The only requirement at all is if you're going to be working for the same teacher, the same position for over 20 days, all right, and going to be considered a full-time sub, then you have to have that degree. You have to be someone who is an actual certified substitute teacher. But really, to be honest, there is no other requirements. The only time there is a requirement is if you are doing the same position for 20 days or longer. Does that kind of answer your question or not really?
Well, it helps for sure. I was just, if someone under this bill could be in the classroom every day of the school year, and again, we're short on subs because we're short on teachers, and it seems that we're adjusting the standards for being a substitute teacher. Should we also consider looking at the standards for being a certified teacher? If it's no longer required that you have a bachelor's degree to be a substitute teacher, should we look at certifying teachers that do have a bachelor's degree that have demonstrated success in the classroom with their students as a sub?
All right. So are you asking, let me kind of clarify. Are you asking that, are you wanting to know if certified teachers can come back and sub? Is that your question?
Well,
or are you saying, do we need to do away with teacher certification altogether and just let everybody sub?
No, sir. I'm not saying that.
Okay. Okay.
What I'm saying is that we're short on subs because we're short on teachers.
Yeah.
And so do we need to look at alternative ways to certify teachers to keep them in the classroom? That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that in the last couple sessions, with our new option 9, which is going to be a great resource to us as educators. We already have a lot of people pursuing option 6. There's all kinds of alternate certifications for teachers, but we need to. And the issue is right now, obviously, it's easy to find a job now. It's easy to find a job wherever you want. You can get a job pretty much anywhere you want to work. So, and the pay is pretty good, and they got benefits. A lot of times with a substitute teacher, I'm going to say the average pay for a substitute teacher is probably somewhere $75 to $100 per day, something like that. So there's a certain group of individuals that you can attract with that amount of pay. So that's the reason that we're trying to make it as easy as possible. And like Representative Jackson said, if we see that this opens up a can of worms, then we can always come back and close that just a little bit. But I think a good superintendent that we want to trust with making all kinds of decisions can make the right decisions in this instance.
Thanks, sir.
Next, we'll call on Representative McCool.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of quick questions. Will background checks still be considered, and will there be any type of evaluation if it's going to be a long-term substitute teacher?
Thank you, Representative McCool. Same background checks as everything. They'll have to do their background checks, their CAN checks, everything that a district requires for you to be employed. And this is something I didn't really realize until I got to digging in this and talking to EPSB. I just thought that a substitute teacher just went to that district, turned in their application, and was just an employee of that district, and that was it. But actually what happens is anytime that a district uses someone to be a substitute teacher, they send those to EPSB, and then they get a 1-year certificate. They get a 1-year substitute certificate. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that happened. And there's not actually a paper trail or anything, but it's done electronically. So this bill would just basically allow that once they went through the process of being hired with the CAN checks and all those different checks they have to do, then they would just refer that to EPSB, and they get that 1-year emergency certificate. And I hope that kind of answers your question just a little bit. Is that good? Or you got another one?
Yes, thank you. They'll also be evaluated during the process as well?
There is no requirement for evaluation of substitute teachers that I'm aware of. But obviously, the district, if this substitute teacher is not doing what they need to be doing, then they could always not call that person or take them off their sub list. But I'm not aware of any evaluation that takes place for substitute teachers.
Thank you. Can I make a brief comment, Mr. Chair?
Please proceed.
Just concerned about the evaluations because we're talking about the students, make sure they get the quality that they should be receiving, and I appreciate the background. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next, we have Representative Timoney.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a couple comments and a couple questions. First and foremost, thank you for bringing this bill forward. I think it's, our sub shortage is a paramount issue right now. And I think that because that is so critical, I think that, I'm going to kind of go back on kind of some of my principles as far as, core principles for who I want in classrooms. I had a sub once show up and say, "I'm here to babysit." And we had a clear conversation that you're not babysitting, that there is instruction that's going to go on. There's a system that you're a part of now. So that's one of the things that I kind of make sure we want to stay away from. I will go ahead and say, if we didn't have a teacher shortage right now and a sub shortage, I'd be a no on this. I think our age limits, I think we do need to talk about that. 18 and 19-year-olds should be elementary only. But is there anything in the bill that would tell a superintendent not to put them in high school? And see, you see, so it potentially could happen. And they'd say, well, there's nothing in the law. They changed the law, but they didn't put anything specific about that. So I think that's a conversation that we do need to kind of put a guardrail in there for that. But one of the things I think it's worth mentioning is that, we are going to keep, and Representative, you and I have had long conversations about what we need to do for education, and the teacher shortage in particular. But, and you mentioned option 6 a second ago, and y'all, we're gonna keep putting Band-Aids on these issues until we get a systematic approach to change the game and attract teachers into the profession with pay, with safety, with security, with standards, with accountability measures that are fair and accurate and do truly represent what's going on in our schools. So I think this is just another kind of example, another page in that chapter of, we're putting Band-Aids on a problem. And I look forward to having some more conversations with you about how we can continue to fix things. So thank you for bringing this forward.
See no more questions or comments this time. House Bill 387 is amended by House Committee Sub 2 is the agenda item. Is there a motion on the bill? A motion, is there a second? A motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker?
Yes.
Representative Ballman?
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Brown?
Yes.
Representative Emily Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Doan?
Yes.
Representative Jackson?
Yes.
Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Mastroni?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn? Representative Rawlings?
Yes.
Representative Raymond?
Yes.
Representative Riley?
Briefly explain my vote.
Proceed.
I'm a yes, but I'd feel a lot more comfortable we had a minimum age of 21 for students in grade 7 and above.
Representative Timoney?
Good bill, bad sponsor. I'm a yes.
Representative Truitt?
Yes.
Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Chair Tipton?
Chair votes aye with 20 yes votes, 0 pass votes, and 0 no votes. House Bill 387 is amended by House Committee Substitute 2. Passes for favorable expression. The same should pass on the House floor. Representative Truitt, while you're there at the table, why don't you go ahead, if you're ready, and do your next bill. Representative Lawrence is a very patient man. He'll wait just a minute. And I will brag on the committee with 20 yes votes. That means we have 100% attendance at the moment, so thank you. Please, you're already sworn in, so please proceed.
All right. Over the last, I guess, couple months, we've heard SEEK mentioned a whole lot. And, most of us on this committee, we understand what SEEK represents, and we understand the importance of SEEK. But a lot of our colleagues, up until just kind of recently, probably didn't realize they kind of assumed that when we set SEEK at $4,300 that we were writing a check to each district for every kid that they had for $4,300. A lot of them were kind of under that assumption. And I think that over the last couple months, we've done a pretty good job of educating our colleagues and other people in the state that there's a lot that goes into SEEK, a whole lot. I've had classes in college that's all we did was kind of dig into SEEK and look at the different funding mechanisms and add-ons and all that stuff. And still, you know, it's just it's going to be a tough thing. So, in talking to leadership and talking to chairman of A&R, they kind of threw out a challenge, and I'm one of these people that I love a challenge. And they threw out a challenge and said, you know, we talk about fixing it, and we talk about doing this, we talk about doing that, but nobody's volunteered to kind of just take it by the horns. And I was like, well, I think I will. What do I need to do? So we went and filed a resolution to set up a task force to look at the SEEK formula.
Motion on the resolution.
Second.
I'll entertain any questions they have.
We have a motion and a second for passage of House Concurrent Resolution 60. Have any questions or comments right now? Representative Timoney.
Thank you, Chairman. A brief comment. I didn't need to hear any more. We need to study this. You know, SEEK is one of the most misunderstood things. I mean, we're going to have to bring in people that understand algorithms and all kinds of things, because it's a bizarre funding source that is desperately outdated, and we need to address it. If we're going to be innovative in our academic settings, if we're going to be innovative with our programming, we've got to look at ways to fund those innovations. And it doesn't always mean that, you know, behinds need to be in chairs for, 2062 or however many hours we're talking about. You know, we can be innovative and outside of that model. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Next is Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Truitt, thank you for taking the bull by the horns, as you say. You know, I know the budget year is that everybody says is the most important thing we do, but I really feel like this task force could be the most important thing to come out of this session. The SEEK formula started in, I believe it was 1989, took effect in 1990 when CARA took effect. So it's been here for 34, 35 years now. So this is critical. I know the Rose lawsuit has a part to play in this as well, but I think this is utmost of interest to every person across the state of Kentucky, and especially if you have kids and grandkids. So I hope we take this, and I know you do, but I hope everybody takes this as serious as it should be. If this takes 1 year to complete, if it takes 2 years to complete, whatever it takes to get it right, to be the most fair and equitable process that you can do, please take the time to do that. And when you come back with something, make sure it is the right thing to do for all kids across the state of Kentucky. But thank you again for doing this.
Thank you.
I'll add this information. Back in 2021, we had a task force on school funding, looked at all aspects of school funding. I co-chaired that. I kept all that material. Representative Truitt, you've got a lot of reading ahead of you. Like I said, the SEEK formula is very complex. You talk about weights, factors that haven't changed in years, and I believe probably the most difficult issue to resolve is our changing demographics in the state. We're seeing population losses in certain areas. Other areas are seeing increases in population, increases in economic development, which is resulting in a lot of variety in the appraisal value of real estate, which has a direct impact on how the SEEK formula works. That's going to be a tough nut to crack, but I appreciate you being willing to take this task on. Seeing no more questions or comments and having a proper motion on House Concurrent Resolution 60, Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker? Yes. Representative Ballman?
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Brown?
Yes.
Representative Emily Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Doan?
Yes.
Representative Jackson?
Yes.
Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Masteroni?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Rawlings?
Yes.
Representative Raymond?
Yes.
Representative Riley?
Yes.
Representative Timoney?
Yes.
Representative Truitt?
Yes.
Representative Wilner,
Yes.
Chair Tipton.
Chair votes aye. With 20 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 0 pass votes, House Concurrent Resolution 60 is passed with favorable expression. The same should pass on the House floor. This time, call up our last agenda item, Representative William Lawrence, House Resolution 37. I see you've got a special guest with you bringing to the table this morning. So make sure your microphones are turned on and pulled up close to you, and identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of this committee. My name is William Lawrence. I'm the state representative from the 70th District, which is comprised of Mason, Bracken, Harrison, and Robertson counties. Someone is playing the drums.
Yeah.
This is my daughter with me this morning. She is on her last day of doctor's excuse. And I told her, I said, you better bring your doctor's excuse because we're going to be in a room full of educators, and they're going to know. They're going to be able to see through you. But I'm happy to have her with me this morning.
Okay. Please raise your right hand.
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please proceed.
Again, good morning. I could go on for a long time, and normally I don't. You guys know I'm usually short, sweet, to the point, and out. But this is just something that seems like such common sense to me, and it gets me very aggravated. When I started digging into this, I was talking to actually Mrs. Huber, my daughter's teacher, and she's on the verge of retirement, and we began to talk about retirement, and this lady is actually buying materials for her classes. And I sat in this committee today, and I listened to the struggles that our teachers and our school systems are dealing with, mainly our teachers. I know a lot of school systems are flush with cash, yet the teachers are really struggling to make their electric payments, which is an aggravation of its own. But I was talking to Mrs. Huber, and she was telling me just the struggle that she's going through to make sure that her classroom has supplies for the students that don't have. And then we started talking about her future as she moves forward into retirement. She's a few years out. She's looking forward to her retirement, I'm sure. But then we began to talk about the fact that if she were married, or any of her friends that are married, and her husband were to pass away, and he had worked his entire life and paid into the Social Security benefit, if he were to pass away, she as an educator would not be able to draw his Social Security. We are one of 13 states, for whatever reason, that this is even a thing. We're one of 13 states that this is happening. Our educators are literally being punished, for a lack of better words, just to be blunt. They're being punished because they were an educator. They cannot draw their spouse's Social Security. If their husband or their wife were not an educator and they were working in Social Security, anybody else can draw their deceased spouse's Social Security except an educator. So today I bring to you House Resolution 37. This is simply urging the United States Congress to amend Title II Social Security Act to repeal government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision.
Motion on the resolution.
Second. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on House Resolution 37. You're welcome to continue, or we do have a question.
No, I'll entertain any
Representative Bojanowski.
All right, so more of a statement than a question, if that's okay. So not only does it impact teachers whose husbands may die and they don't get their benefits, it also impacts teachers similar to me who are second career teachers. So I'm only in 14 years, and I had a very long career before I became a teacher in which I paid into Social Security. So one thing that I discovered that a lot of educators who may be in my position don't know is that there is something called substantial earnings. And depending, so in theory, if you're an educator, you don't get Social Security. But there's kind of a tier depending on how much substantial earnings you have outside of education where you paid Social Security. And if any educator has questions about this, you can Google the Windfall Elimination Provision online calculator, and you put in all your Social Security income earned, and it tells you how much your Social Security would be impacted by the WEP. It doesn't mean that I'm not supportive of the resolution by any means, but it is a major concern for educators who are second career teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Okay. Just make one comment. I want to make it clear. This is an issue that this Commonwealth of Kentucky cannot make the decision on. That's why this resolution would be sent to the United States Congress because that is a federal issue that has to be decided at the federal level. At this point, your resolution is about as much as we can do. Thank you for bringing it forward. Representative Raymond?
Thank you. I have a question for the guest.
Yes.
I would like to know her favorite animal, her favorite book, and her favorite movie. Thank you.
Favorite animal, book, put her on the spot. What's your favorite animal?
Take your time. We're not in a big hurry.
A horse.
What's your favorite book?
Dragon Girls.
Favorite movie?
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls.
That's my girl.
All right. Ditto for Representative Lawrence. Okay. We have a motion on the resolution. Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker? Yes. Representative Ballman?
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Brown?
Yes.
Representative Emily Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Josh Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Doan?
Yes.
Representative Jackson?
Yes.
Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massaroni?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Rawlings?
Yes.
Representative Raymond?
Yes.
Representative Riley?
A quick explanation. I'm a yes, obviously, but also this negatively impacts our female teachers more than our male because we have more female teachers than males, and also because on the average females live longer than males. So we're punishing them on top of the fact that because of childbearing, they have to use more sick days. So I think everybody needs to be aware of those things. Thank you.
Representative Timoney?
Yes.
Representative Truitt?
Yes.
Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Chair Tipton?
Chair votes aye with 20 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 0 pass votes. House Resolution 37 passes with favorable expression. Same should pass on the House floor. Well, members, we have quickly gotten through 5 agenda items. I may ask for more next week.
Mr. Chairman.
Meeting's adjourned.
Mr. Chairman.
I apologize. We had a Representative Brown. I apologize. Proceed.
I'd like to record yes votes on House Bill 377 and 383.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now the meeting's adjourned.